Can I see my own live stream?
Yeah. Want to.
Okay. I want to see it. What it looks like.
Okay, you should be live.
Hello. Do you see me?
Yeah.
It's not showing up on my Facebook.
Yeah, got it right here.
Oh, you have it? Awesome. Okay. Can I have your phone instead then?
Yeah.
Do you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. There is a delay, isn't there?
Yes.
Okay. It's not showing up on my Facebook. Oh, you have it? Awesome. Okay, I don't want this. Can I have your phone instead then? It's too loud. Now, no, you don't have to do the porridge yet. I need you to tell me who's on the stream. We'll do that later. It'll be okay. Is there anyone watching right now? Anybody
Show
else?
2 people watching.
So who are the 2 people? You can probably see. It may just be us. You and
1. So let me hit share now.
yeah, go ahead and share it to
Nav.
Mog, and we'll see what happens then.
Share to a group. Now Mog. Post.
Oh, something.
Probably have Mog.
Yeah, it was you. Oh, it says 3 people, but that also may be this phone too. I'm gonna turn this one off. Okay.
Okay, show 6 people. Rhiannon's
Oh,
here,
okay.
Courtney, and Jason.
Awesome. Hey everybody. Today we are going to make dandelion wine. So I have 3 quarts of dandelions. 2 I've already done. So you only want to use the yellow parts of the flower. So these were completely full of flowers, but by the time you get rid of the green parts, you're only going to have about half. But for some of this stream, I still have the green parts on these dandelions. So we're going to sit here and wait for people to come in and pull off the. It's pretty easy. You're left with most of the green and just discard it. Or for some of the bigger flowers, like this, you can twist it open and pull out the yellow parts. It really just depends on the flower. Now you will get less of the little green, and if you look in the bowl here, you can see there are a few green petals, but those shouldn't really affect the taste very much because it's not a really large green part. So we're going to do this for a while. Now on the stove, I have 4 quarts or 1 gallon of water boiling. So after I get all of these picked and all the little yellow flowers out, we will be submerging the yellow petals in hot boiling water. And that's really the only thing we're going to do today so far. I'll tell you the ingredients that we're going to need and the steps you'll have to take, but that's all we can do today. So when the water comes to a boil, we're going to get a really large crock, which I have off screen. And we're going to put these dandelion petals in it, pour over the boiling water. Then we're going to leave it for 3 days. We're going to cover it with just a towel and a rubber band.
In the crock.
In the crock. So my helper off screen is actually going to get the crock. And I actually got this crock from another SCA cook, Sandra Rowland. Don't know if she's watching, or she may watch this in the future. Her time zone's a little different than ours. So, yeah, so she left me this big pickling crock, which most of the time you need a lid for a lot of the recipes, but for this one, you don't actually need it. So we'll use that later. We're just going to put a towel on it. Now this one, this dandelion, it's a bit closed, so to open these, you have to basically rip them and pull out the petals. Now, this has taken me a couple hours today. I just turn on the TV, and as I was watching television, just picked and picked and picked. And I left some of this just so I could do it on the stream with you guys. So let me finish these few, and we'll talk about the other ingredients. Got 2 left. Great. Last one. All right. So as I'm talking about it, I'll finish up what I have left in this jar. It shouldn't take too long. Now, for the full recipe, I got this recipe from, let's see, commonsensehome.com, Dandelion Wine recipe. I can leave that a link in the description to the recipe that I'm using. I actually am taking an online email herbalism class, and this is one of the first ones that popped up. So my yard was full of dandelions, so I thought I'd give it a try. In the past, I've done honeysuckle, a type of like honeysuckle cordial, which I just did the same exact thing. I picked a ton of honeysuckle. Now, I didn't let it ferment for 3 days or anything like that. This is a new process that I'm actually trying out. But that honeysuckle actually turned out really, really well. I ended up making a honeysuckle lemon honey from it, or syrup, some perfume, and then of course I made the cordial from it as well. Now, so you're going to need 3 quarts of dandelion petals, 1 gallon of water, which we have boiling right now. You might want to go check and make sure that's boiling. Then we're going to need 2 oranges, and you're going to use the pith and the fruit. You're going to use the skin and the fruit. You don't want the white pith because, again, that's going to make it really bitter. So you might want to get organic oranges if you're concerned about that kind of thing. Then just 1 lemon, and you're going to do the same thing with the lemon as you will the oranges. And that will probably, if this goes over well, I may stream again Friday, and we will prep the oranges and the lemon and then add them to our fermented dandelion petals on Friday. Then you're going to need 3 pounds of sugar. So I'm just going to use this sugar I have here. Then raisins. Now you can use any kind of raisins. I have these golden raisins that we're going to use. And the last ingredient, which is also really important, is the yeast, the wine yeast. So I've got 4 kinds of yeasts. I haven't decided which one I'm going to use yet, but I have Red Star, Premier, Cote de Blanc, Active Dry Yeast. That's a maybe. D47, Loveland yeast. That one's really common. 71B, this one's also really common. And this one I've never used before, K1V116, also Loveland yeast. So I'll wait till Friday to decide which one I'm actually going to use in it. I think all of them will work just fine. But if you have used one of these yeasts in a wine before, let me know, and I may use the one that you suggest. Alright, so we still have quite a bit left. So, when you're picking these dandelions, it's ideal if you pick them on a really sunny day, because then you won't get these little closed flowers. These are harder to open. You can still do it, but it's a lot better to have fully open ones like this. It's a lot easier. Now, I picked these yesterday, and I just kept them in these mason jars, and I stored them in the fridge. If you only have a few dandelions in your yard, you can also freeze the petals and just add and add and add to them as you get more and more. So it just really depends on how big your yard is, how often or how much of this you can make. Now, outside right now, it's safe to pick the dandelions. You don't have to worry about the bees, because at this point in the year, those little purple and green, they look like weeds. They're actually called henbit. The butterflies and bees and other pollinators, they have those to rely on if there's no dandelions. Also, you can see those little tiny purple or white flowers, and those are also available to the bees, and we're not going to do anything with those. So once those flowers have sprouted in spring, totally safe to pick the dandelions. You don't have to worry about killing your bees because they have other flowers out at that time. All right, time for some more.
Courtney asked, did you rinse off the flowers?
I've not yet, no. I'm actually going to wash all these little petals. Now, I think I'm going to do it in a brewing bag or a colander with really, really small holes, maybe in batches. But you also want to make sure your yard is unsprayed. So after my first honeysuckle cordial I made, our apartment complex started spraying, so I was never able to make more of it. But luckily now, no one sprays our yard. But make sure it's not sprayed, or you should not be making this recipe. You don't want to use the sprayed flowers. But after I pick off all the petals, then I'll wash them, because I haven't found a few bugs. Now, I put them in the fridge overnight, and the only bugs I've found in here are dead bugs. If you freeze them, it'll also kill them. So if you don't want to deal with live bugs, maybe don't do this part the day of, because you'll have ants crawling all over you. So just put them in your fridge with the lids on. It should kill any of the bugs. And then when we wash these, then we can get all the nasty dirt and bugs and everything else out of them. All right. I have a few more. All right, so now I haven't eaten dinner yet, so I've decided to make a Viking porridge, and let me pull up the recipe. I also got this recipe from Sandra Rowland. I've made this recipe several times. It's very, very good. One of my favorites. It's called barley porridge with smoked bacon and vegetables. So I'm actually not going to use any bacon. What I'm going to use is liquid smoke, and if you want an even more bacony flavor, you can use bacon bits at the very end. So you just boil 8 to 10 cups of water. You'll need 3 cups of pearled barley, barley groats, anything like that. I've even used farro, and it works fine. Then you'll need 100 grams each of celery, carrots, and onions. I don't have any white onions today, but I do have some leeks, so I'm going to substitute those in. So after I have finished this, I'll go get the water boiling for that as well. And instead of just boiling it in water, I will probably do vegetable broth just to give it some more flavor. there any questions? How many people we got?
I show 10.
Nice. So, since the Prairie Art Center is closed, some of our A&S classes may go to live streams or pre-recorded YouTube videos. That way we can still talk to each other and you guys can learn something new, just like we would have done at the Art Center. Now I did have to postpone the lamp work class. I already contacted the teacher. We need to do that in person. So I told her June. Hopefully we'll be able to have that class in June if the PAC is back open or we find another location. But that's still in the works. I didn't cancel it completely. So we'll have to see in the future where that goes. But if this goes well and you guys like this, I will do the full process of making the wine since this is just part 1 tonight. Friday we'll do the next part and then we'll see after that. I also have quite a few period recipes that I've been wanting to try out. And I may make those either YouTube videos or I might do a live stream for those as well. And 2, I'm not going to use that one. So if you can see, we've got quite a few petals, and there's not that much. There's not a whole lot of green in there, so this shouldn't turn out bitter at all. Now, if I had just thrown all these flowers in the water, you can see how much green that I've been picking off, so quite a bit there. So definitely don't skip this step, even though it is not the most exciting thing. So do we have any questions so far? Anything you want to know? That one was messy. I'll welcome any comments that you guys or questions that you have. I'll try to answer them if I know the answer.
Shannon asked, how many dandelions are you starting with?
I didn't actually count the individual flowers, but you take a quart jar, fill it to the very, very top, and kind of pack it in there. Not really, really pack it, but make sure you can't really see through the jar. All you see is flowers. So I started with 3 full quarts. Now, once you pick all of the little green parts off, you're only going to be left with 1/2 to 3/4 of your quart jar. And that's what we're actually going to be using, is just the petals. So now it didn't look like there was a ton of dandelions in my yard, but once you start picking them individually, you realize there's a lot more than you think. I actually recorded a video of my yard because this was originally going to just be a YouTube video until we decided to do a live stream. But I do have footage. Now, if we do upload this to YouTube, I can put in that footage of what my yard actually looked like when I started picking these. Now, I did do my backyard and my front yard. I didn't have a picture of the backyard, but I did take a picture of the front yard. And there's still probably about another quart of flowers in my yard that I didn't get to because I just didn't need them. So, how big would you say our yard is?
No idea.
Hmm.
Fairly big because we got in the ditch.
Yeah. I didn't go down in the ditch though.
Then Rhiannon asked, how strong a flavor will it have?
I've never actually, this is my first time making this, but according to the person and the comments on this article that I'm making it from, let's see. Oh, let's talk about a little bit about it. If you use a wine yeast as recommended, you should end up with 12 to 13% alcohol. Floral and fruity, it's going to have citrus notes because we are using 2 oranges and 1 lemon. And now we are going to peel those, but you're actually going to be using the fruit of those. And we're not going to have any of the white pith in there either. So it's going to have floral, obviously, from the flowers, and a lot of orangey citrus notes to it as well. And I assume it's going to be fairly sweet because we're using 3 pounds of sugar. So, and 3 pounds of sugar, 1 gallon of water.
Jason asked, how long is this taking so far?
All right. Wait, the flour doing this or okay? Well, I'll talk about both. I spent a couple hours yesterday. Now I did take breaks between it. So if you were to do this, like if you have kids or a family, it should probably only take you maybe an hour to pick all the flowers. I was by myself and I took breaks because I'm not used to bending down that much. It took me like about 3 hours to get all these flowers, maybe 4, but I did take breaks between them, sit down on the couch for a bit, and then went back out and finished picking them. Now, if you're talking about how long this is going to take to drink, 6 months. So if you all start making this tomorrow, if you join with me, you go pick out all your flowers and things and get this going, it takes 6 months. And 6 months from now, this wine will be ready for triumph. So I will be bringing this wine for everyone to see that's watching this to try at Triumph. So you'll all get to have a taste of what this wine actually tastes like. And we are coming to the end of our flowers. Now for the petal peeling, it really just depends how many people you've got and how fast you work. I've been at this, I'd say 1 jar of this took me 30 minutes to do. Now I only started this stream with like half a jar. But I've been watching HGTV all day. So that's what's helped kill the time for me. But I would just set aside an evening when you have, or an afternoon, that you have nothing else really to do. Just watch TV and just pick the peels. You don't have to tug these very hard either. It's not really strenuous for your hands. So I would put like, if you're by yourself doing this, give yourself 3 hours, including breaks, to pick the flowers, and I would say probably another 3 hours to pick the petals. So I would say this would be 2 days, and then we're gonna let it rest in the water for 3 days, and then when we come back on Friday, we'll do the next step, which is cutting all the oranges and getting the pith out and adding it to the water. Let me actually go back up to the recipe. Yeah, so on Friday, it says to prepare the oranges and lemon, zest, finely grate your zest, about half of the rind and peel the rest off in very thin strips. You want to minimize the amount of white pith added to the brew because that's really, really bitter. And we're all already doing so much work for this to not be better by pulling off all these little green parts. We don't want to ruin it with the citrus. Finish peeling the citrus, slice them into thin rounds. Add the lemon and the orange zest to the flour water mixture and bring to a boil. Remove from heat, strain out solids, then add the sugar, stirring it until it's dissolved, allow it to cool to room temperature. After that's happened, add the yeast, orange and lemon slices, and raisins to the liquid. Put everything in a crock, which is the crock I showed earlier. If you weren't here, we'll show it again at the end. Or you can do a carboy in an airlock, which I may actually do that. Now I'm going to let it ferment for 3 days in the crock, but we have quite a few carboys and airlocks, so I may just transfer it to that because I'm more used to doing that. I cover my crock with a clean cotton towel held down by a rubber band. Stir daily with a wooden spoon or non-reactive stir stick. Let's see. Bottling the wine. Now that's that will be a different day. So the part I just read, we're going to try to do Friday. After Friday, we'll see how it goes and when we can do the next part. Right. Any other questions?
None so far.
All right. Now, after I finish these flowers, which I don't have that many left to do, we'll go over to the stove. Oh, it's about...
Looks like we're back.
Oh, we're back.
I don't know why it did that.
Hopefully we didn't lose anybody.
No, I think it just, our video went out.
Can you guys hear me and see me okay? All right, last of the flowers.
Okay, yeah, we're good now.
We're good? Okay.
I don't know why I did that.
All right, now after these last few flowers, I'm going to get my brewing, the grain bag, and rinse these. Then we'll pour the water over, the boiling water, and we're done. Then I can move on to making the Viking porridge. I guess I can read a little bit of the history of this. Now, I've not fact-checked anything. I'm just going to straight read from the article about it. Dandelion wine, believed to be of Celtic origin, is regarded as one of the fine country wines of Europe. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, it was not proper for ladies to drink alcohol. However, dandelion flower wine was considered so therapeutic to the kidneys and digestive system that it was deemed medicinal even for the ladies. So that's just what it says on the blog. I haven't done any SCA research about this recipe. Maybe if this turns out really good, I'll do that in the future. Maybe see if there's other flowers that they used. Now, I read in the Gardener's Labyrinth that they grew honeysuckle. Like here, we kind of just think honeysuckle is a weed, but according to the Gardener's Labyrinth, which is a period book, they actually grew honeysuckle on purpose. Now, I'm not sure if they grew dandelions on purpose or not, or if they had this wine during period times. That's research for another day. All right, we are all done picking the flowers. So what I'm going to do is, all right, so I have a whole bowl. So let's see, out of all those flowers, petals, how much we actually get back into the quart jar. I started with a very full quart jar, and we are ending with about 3/4 of a jar is what I got out of that. So this was, I think, the last jar that I did. So I really packed it full. Yeah. So this is how many petals that I actually have. And now we are going to throw these away. And we're going to go wash the petals. All right. Now I have two kinds of strainers that I'm going to use. Do you want to take the camera over here?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna.
Okay.
It'll fade to black real fast. Then we'll.
Rock, please.
Get off the back way out there.
I'll need you to hand these to me. Are we good? Are you live again?
Yeah, we're live.
Okay, we're live again. Okay, now we're on to the second part. We're going to clean them. Now, I'm going to use this fine mesh strainer. I'd also thought about using this brew bag, but I think I'm going to be okay with the fine mesh. They're small, but they're not that small. So I think I'll be okay with this, and I can get a more thorough wash with this. So let's go ahead and just start washing our petals. And once they're washed, thank you. I'm going to put them, oh, this is very dirty. Would you mind washing this out?
Yeah.
It's real heavy. He's going to wash that out for me. It's pretty dirty. We're going to put all the petals in there. And we're going to pour the boiling water over the petals. Sorry if this part is a little boring, but since it's not a YouTube video, I can't just cut out this part. Alright. So I picked out any bugs that I found. And really, this was just to get the dirt off. Alright, here we go. That's all nice and clean now. Yeah. So I don't think I actually lost any down the sink. Alright, so I'm going to do this a couple more times. And then we'll be all good to go. Want to get every little petal out of there. If we can. And if you want to thoroughly wash it, you can. All right. I think we're good. Can you hand me the other two?
Yeah.
So 4 more times. And then we're ready for the boiling water. And then we'll get to the stew. comments?
No.
Is anybody still watching?
Yeah, we got like 8 people watching.
Yay! That's good. I'm glad I'm able to entertain the people. Alright. And only here's my other jar. Last jar. Oh, no, if you're not doing anything, you want to get some henbit from the yard so I can show them?
That's the purple one.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
The purple one.
All right. One more. There we go. All right. That was the last part. I want to get all of it out. All those hard-earned petals. Okay. So that is all the petals. Now it's just time to pour over the boiling water. Turn it off. Careful. All right. Where's my wooden stir stick? Whew. Smells like cooked flowers. And it looks just like the picture in the blog. If we can get that up to the camera. Can you lift this to the camera, or can we put the camera in it?
We don't have enough cord to put the camera in there, but
It's not hot at the top. It's just so heavy. It's so heavy. So there we have a picture. Hopefully you guys can see. Don't spill it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I will link the blog post somewhere, so you guys can look at the steps that we've followed so far. Mine, it does look like the picture, so I think we did the first part right. Now we just need a towel. So any comments on that?
Oh, it just barely got in there.
Barely? Oh, okay.
But you can see it.
Okay, so now, would you go get a kitchen towel?
Yeah.
We are going to put a kitchen towel over, a clean kitchen towel over this, and leave it for 3 days. So today is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Friday night. We can do this again. If that doesn't happen, Saturday. All right. So we can leave it until it cools down here, but. There we go. We're all done with part 1 of making dandelion wine. So, since this just had boiling water, let's move on to the Viking.
So Randon asked, could one use stainless steel instead of a crock? I would imagine so.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't see the problem with that. You could also put it in glass. If you want to fully do this step in a carboy, that would also be fine. But the recipe, the blog said a crock. I just happen to have a crock, so that's what I'm using. But I would totally do it in a carboy. or something glass. I think stainless still would be all right. Okay, so now we can start working on the porridge. Now for the porridge, we're going to need 8 to 10 cups of water. Now this is all going to depend on what kind of grain that you got. If you got pearl barley, barley groats, farro, you're going to have to add the 8 cups to the 10 cups. And also it depends, do you want this more like a soup, or like really thick or thin? It's up to your preference. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up my pot with 8 cups of water, and we will go from there if we need to add more. And hopefully I'll get a better shot of the texture for you guys. Because I can put it in a small bowl and hold it up to the camera. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, we'll start with 8 cups to boil. Alright, now this recipe calls for grams. So we're going to use 100 grams of celery, and you can totally use frozen celery. It works just fine. Frozen carrots, and usually you would use white onion. I happen to have a leek right now, and then this is the pearl barley. I got it from the Himalayan market here in Stillwater. Just using this pearl barley. And then it says you can use 150 grams of bacon. I don't eat bacon. So what I'm going to do, and I've done this several times before. I love this recipe. It's delicious. Liquid smoke, I'm going to use a teaspoon or so of this. And if I want more bacony flavor, the imitation bacon bits are actually vegan. So you can go ham on those. And during these plague times, you don't have fresh bacon, you can't get it. These two together will save you. So you can get those. And you can freeze celery. It's especially if you just use it in soups. So get you some fresh celery, chop it up, freeze it. That way it's going to stay a lot fresher longer. Same with carrots. So this recipe can be made when you don't have that much. And it's not too many fresh vegetables, just 3. So we're just going to wait for that to boil for now. And I don't know the accuracy of the Viking porridge this is. I will link the website below. I've only ever made this recipe. They have several Viking soups and stews on it. I haven't tried any of those. I've only done this one. I know there isn't exactly a lot written about Viking food. They didn't really have written records. So I'm assuming whoever wrote this, they looked and saw maybe what they had available at the time and put them together because the ingredients existed. I'm not sure the accuracy of this Viking porridge. I know it tastes good, and that's the name. I'll probably do more research on it later on. So, is there a question?
Can you flip off the light above the oven and see if that works? Oh yeah.
Better?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It was too direct.
Okay. All right. So, I will link that website below, and then you guys can comment and see if this is sort of an accurate Viking recipe. I don't do very much Viking cooking. This recipe was given to me by Sandra. She does a lot of the Viking stuff. But you guys can tell me if it's SCA acceptable or not. I personally don't know the answer. Now, when I was talking earlier about the flowers for the dandelion wine, I mentioned one called henbit. And am I close enough to the camera for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Or do I need to go closer? This is.
Put your hand behind it so it focuses.
That good?
Yeah.
Okay, this is henbit, and you can actually eat this just like a lettuce. This is like a wild salad. You can if you are low on greens, you can't get lettuce, you can add some of this. It's totally edible, not going to hurt you. You can also saute it. So I found there's a lot of this growing with the dandelions. Now, I'm not going to actually eat it because I want bees in my yard this year. And if you can see the little flower, that's good for bees. So as long as you see these flowers out and about before you start picking your dandelions, you're probably not going to hurt your bees. So that's why I waited for a bit to do this, because these are out and those little tiny purple blue flowers, they're like this big, those are out. So yeah, henbit. You can eat this in hard times. Alright, so this was on high. It's really just a waiting game now. So is there anything you guys want to talk about? If not,
Well, no, you still got lag.
oh, really
You're
bad.
just now back to where you asked that question.
Okay, I'll wait. So lag or?
No.
Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions, or if you guys are done for the night, I will end the stream here, and I can upload pictures of the Viking porridge. So I showed you all the ingredients, and when it's done, I will upload a picture of the consistency if you guys want to see that.
Jason says Libby was late.
Oh, who's here?
I think Libby's here. I can't.
Oh, we can't see who's here?
Yeah, not in this new one.
Okay. Yeah, so if you just joined the stream now, we're at the very end of our stream. We've made the part 1 of Dandelion Wine. We picked the flowers, we took all the little green parts off, we washed the petals, and we put boiling water over them and put on a towel and a big crock. So that was part 1. We'll probably do part 3 Friday night. Part 2 Friday night.
Skipping to 3.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when we'll do part 3.
Probably closer to that to bottling.
Yeah, it'll be a while. All right, we're boiling. So now we can go ahead and add our stuff. And this recipe should make a lot. Where is my cup? Alright, so I'm going to actually use 3 cups of this. I'm actually going to wash it before. Always wash your grains. At least give them a quick rinse. So the recipe says 3 cups of your grain of choice. 1 cup. 2 cups. And 1 more. Alright, that's our third cup. Alright, cup number 3. And we are going to let that boil. Alright, so let me grab my recipe. Make sure. Yeah, okay. So 8 to 10 cups of water, 3 cups of barley groats, and then 100 grams of celery, 100 grams carrots, 100 grams of onions. So they're all already cut, so I'm just going to go ahead and measure them out.
There's that empty glass container there for you.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Start with the carrots. Alright, about 100 grams of carrots.
Oh.
So, if you don't have a scale, let me measure this out for you guys. Not everybody has a kitchen scale. Okay, so 100 grams is, this is a 1 cup measurement, so a non-heaping cup of carrots. I have to stop reading. Alright. Put it away.
If someone was wanting to get started in A&S period cooking, what would be a good place to start looking up recipes?
Stefan's Florilegium, I think is how you say it. That's where I've gotten a ton of SCA recipes. It's really good. I can link that below too. And it's all in nice, pretty little categories. So if you're searching for something with carrots, just type in carrots and it'll be like a whole bunch of SCA recipes with carrots. Let's see, what else? Okay. For other recipes I've used, there's also a Facebook group called SCA Cooks. I'm on that group. You can find stuff there. So you can search things within the group. My suggestion, if you want to get started with cooking, think of your favorite ingredient. Like if you wanted to use leeks, start with leek recipes. In my experience, vegetable recipes are pretty easy. My favorite one is, it's a blog. She's an SDA person that lives in the UK. What's her name? I can leave her linked below. I've made so many of her recipes, and they've all come out pretty amazing. Surprisingly, she has a ton of vegetable recipes. Vegetable recipes are pretty hard to mess up. Also, I would look at Lent recipes. Those will be ones with the fewest ingredients. Nothing super expensive or hard to find, because during Lent you weren't supposed to indulge in things. So Lent recipes start with individual vegetables. Now some vegetables that we have now are not period, like corn and things like that. So if you can't find a certain recipe, it may be because they didn't, or the UK, England, Germany, wherever you are, or didn't have access to that ingredient. Pumpkins, squash, those are all New World ingredients. There, you may find 1 or 2 speculating how to use those ingredients, but most of the time they're not going to show you very much. There's a lot of Middle Eastern recipes if you're into sweets. They use dates and honey, especially if you like to make candy. There's quite a few candy recipes. Candied orange peel, candied lemon peel, date candies. So those are things I would start with because they use cheap, easy to find ingredients that we can find in our stores here. Now, once you're a more experienced SCA cook, you can move on to meat and cheese dishes, although those are often open to interpretation. Sometimes they'll come out really good, and sometimes they won't. It depends how you interpret the recipe.
I think we're good again. Yeah, because you're heading back over there.
Okay, am I good? Or no?
Yeah.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm live again?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more questions? I'm not sure where it cut out. How much lag is on it?
Not much.
Okay.
A little bit. So.
Okay. I'll wait a few more seconds and then we can probably cut.
Want to do it till 60 minutes?